A woman torn from her world, two children unable to sleep, and a chief burdened by grief. But one moment, one choice would change everything, forever binding them in ways none could have imagined. Thank you so much for watching and for all your comments. Let me know at the end if you liked the story, and where you're watching from and why you're following this. The unforgiving Arizona sun beat down on the Comanche camp nestled among the rocky outcroppings of the desert. Chief White Bear's lodge sat at the center, its weathered buffalo hides showing the passage of many seasons. Inside, his twin daughters, Morning Star and Evening Sky, sat restlessly beside their father, their small fingers working tirelessly on beadwork as they had been for hours. "Father, why must we continue making these when our eyes grow heavy?" Morning Star asked, her voice barely a whisper. Chief White Bear's face, lined with the wisdom of his 50 winters, remained stoic. "Since your mother's passing, sleep has abandoned our lodge. The medicine man says our hands must stay busy until the spirits grant us peace." The twins, only 7 summers old, exchanged weary glances. Their mother had died during the harsh winter, and since then, nightmares plagued their sleep. The entire camp whispered about the twins who could not find rest. "Look," Evening Sky pointed toward the camp's edge where a commotion was brewing. "The hunting party returns." Warriors rode in triumphantly, but it wasn't game they brought back. A white woman, her dress torn and dirty, her blonde hair matted with dust, sat bound on one of the horses. Her blue eyes were wide with terror. "Who is she, father?" Morning Star asked. "Silence," White Bear commanded, rising to his feet. "This is not for children's ears." The chief strode out to meet the returning warriors. The twins, disobeying their father's command, crept to the entrance of the lodge to listen. "We found her wagon overturned near the trading post," explained Tall Wolf, the leader of the hunting party. "Her husband was dead. The soldiers will blame us, though it was not our doing." "And you brought her here?" White Bear's voice carried disappointment. "The white man's soldiers will come looking." "The soldiers are 3 days' ride away," Tall Wolf argued, "and she has skills. Look at her hands. They are a healer's hands." The white woman stood trembling, her wrists bound with rawhide. Despite her fear, she held herself with dignity. White Bear approached her. "What is your name, white woman?" She lifted her chin. "Sarah Mitchell," she replied, her voice stronger than her appearance suggested. "My husband and I were traveling to Tucson when bandits attacked us." "Bandits? Not Comanche?" White Bear questioned. "Men with covered faces, not your people," she confirmed. "Please, I mean no harm. I am a midwife and healer." The chief considered this. The tribe's medicine man had grown old and his eyes were failing. A healer, even a white one, could be valuable. "Unbind her," White Bear ordered. "She will stay with my daughters. If she tries to escape, she dies." The twins scurried back to their work as their father returned. He entered with Sarah following cautiously behind. "Morning Star, Evening Sky, this woman will stay with us. She is a healer. Treat her with respect, but watch her always." Sarah's eyes softened at the sight of the exhausted children. "Hello," she said gently, kneeling to their level. "What beautiful beadwork." The twins stared, uncertain. They had never been so close to a white person before. "They do not sleep," White Bear explained, surprising Sarah with his candidness. "Not since their mother joined the ancestors." Sarah nodded slowly. "I understand loss," she said, more to the girls than to their father. "My mother died when I was young, too." That night, as the camp settled into silence, the twins continued their beadwork by firelight. Sarah sat nearby, watching their small fingers work methodically despite their obvious exhaustion. "May I?" she asked, reaching for a strand of beads. The girls didn't object as she began working alongside them. As she worked, she began to hum a soft melody. "What is that song?" Evening Sky asked, her curiosity overcoming her wariness. "A lullaby my mother sang to me," Sarah answered. "Would you like to hear the words?" The twins nodded, and Sarah began to sing softly about stars watching over sleeping children and dreams carrying them to peaceful places. Her voice was clear and sweet in the quiet lodge. White Bear watched from his sleeping area, his face unreadable. The twins' fingers slowed as they listened, their eyelids growing heavy. "My mother sang to us too," Morning Star whispered, "but I cannot remember her songs anymore." Sarah smiled sadly. The songs stay in your heart, even when you forget the words. By the time the fire had burned low, the twins had fallen asleep over their beadwork, the first peaceful rest they'd had in months. White Bear approached silently, looking down at his sleeping daughters. "You have medicine in your voice, white woman," he said quietly. Sarah met his gaze. "Not medicine, just understanding. Grief is the same in any language." That night marked the beginning of a fragile trust between captor and captive, with the sleeping twins bridging the divide between two worlds that had known only conflict. The following days brought an uneasy rhythm to the Comanche camp. Sarah, though still a prisoner, moved with growing confidence among the people. She helped the women prepare meals, learned to tan hides, and most importantly, cared for the sick with her knowledge of herbs and remedies. The twins became her constant shadows, following her everywhere, absorbing her stories and songs. "Tell us more about your home," Evening Sky requested one afternoon as they gathered medicinal plants on the outskirts of the camp. Sarah's hands paused over a cluster of yarrow. "I lived in a town called Springfield, back east. There were buildings made of wood and brick, streets where wagons passed, and a school where children learned to read and write." "Read and write?" Morningstar's brow furrowed. "Like the marks on paper that white men make." Sarah nodded. "Words can be captured on paper and kept forever. Would you like me to show you?" The girls exchanged excited glances and nodded enthusiastically. That evening, using a stick in the dirt floor of the lodge, Sarah began teaching the twins the alphabet. White Bear watched from the entrance, his expression thoughtful. "What purpose does this serve?" he finally asked. "My daughters will live as Comanche women." Sarah met his gaze steadily. "Knowledge is never a burden to carry. The world is changing, White Bear. Your daughters may need to understand the white man's ways someday. You speak as though you will not be here to teach them," White Bear observed. "Are you planning to escape, Sarah Mitchell?" Sarah set down her stick. "I have nowhere to go. My husband is dead, my wagon destroyed. The nearest settlement is hostile to lone women." She looked at the twins who were practicing drawing letters. "For now, I am where I need to be." White Bear studied her face for signs of deception, but found none. With a slight nod, he left the lodge. Later that night, as the twins drifted to sleep after Sarah's now nightly lullaby, the healer sat beside White Bear at the dying fire. "They sleep peacefully now," she observed. "Yes," he acknowledged, "but it is not just sleep they needed. They laugh again. Their mother's death left a hole no one could fill." "No one can replace their mother," Sarah said gently, "but children need to know they are not alone in their grief." White Bear was silent for a long moment. "My wife, Singing Bird, was like you in some ways. Strong-minded, unafraid to speak truth." He poked at the embers. "The winter sickness took her quickly. I was hunting. When I returned, she was already with the ancestors." "I'm sorry," Sarah said simply. "You are not what I expected, white woman," White Bear admitted. "The stories say white women are weak, fearful creatures." Sarah laughed softly. "And the stories told to white children say the Comanche are bloodthirsty savages. Perhaps all our stories need correction." A commotion at the edge of camp interrupted their conversation. A warrior ran toward White Bear's lodge. "Chief, riders approach. Soldiers." White Bear stood abruptly. "How many?" "A small party. 5, maybe 6. They carry a white flag." White Bear's eyes darted to Sarah. "Did you signal them somehow?" She shook her head vigorously. "No, I swear it." After a moment of scrutiny, White Bear nodded. "Wake the council. Keep the soldiers at the boundary." He turned to Sarah. "Stay with my daughters. Do not show yourself." Inside the lodge, Sarah found the twins sitting up, eyes wide with fear. "What happened, Sarah?" Morningstar whispered. "Soldiers have come," Sarah explained, keeping her voice calm. "Your father will speak with them. Will they take you away?" Evening Sky's lower lip trembled. The question caught Sarah off guard. I don't know." "We don't want you to go," Morningstar declared, clutching Sarah's hand. Sarah gathered both girls into her arms, her heart conflicted. Part of her had dreamed of rescue, but now, holding these children who had come to trust her, she felt uncertain. At the camp's edge, White Bear faced a young lieutenant and his small escort. "We're searching for survivors from a wagon train attacked 2 weeks ago," the lieutenant explained. "A woman named Sarah Mitchell may have been taken captive." There was an attack, but not by my people, White Bear replied evenly. We found tracks of bandits wearing boots, not moccasins. So you haven't seen this woman? The lieutenant held up a handbill with a rough sketch of Sarah. White Bear studied it impassively. Why do you search for her? Her brother in Tucson reported her missing. He's offering a reward. White Bear's expression remained unchanged, but his mind raced. Sarah had a brother waiting for her, family that mourned her. He thought of his daughters, how they would feel if taken from him. I will bring this matter to my council, he said finally. Return tomorrow, and you will have an answer. The lieutenant looked dissatisfied but nodded. Until tomorrow, then. When White Bear returned to his lodge, he found Sarah sitting between his sleeping daughters, her face troubled. You heard? He asked quietly. She nodded. My brother Daniel. I didn't know he was in Tucson. Do you wish to return to him? Sarah looked down at the twins. These children have lost so much already. That is not what I asked, White Bear said. Sarah met his gaze. 2 weeks ago, I would have given anything to escape. Now, she shook her head. I don't know what is right anymore. White Bear sat heavily across from her. The council will demand I return you. The risk of keeping you is too great. And the twins? They have survived loss before. They will again. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. Children should not have to be so strong. As dawn broke, White Bear made his decision, one that would change all their lives irrevocably. The morning air was crisp as White Bear gathered his council. The discussion was heated, voices rising and falling like the wind across the plains. Some warriors argued for sending Sarah away immediately. Others suggested using her as a bargaining tool for trade goods. White Bear listened to all, his face impassive, before raising his hand for silence. The white woman has brought healing to our camp, he declared. Not just to bodies, but to spirits. My daughters sleep through the night for the first time since their mother's passing. He paused, looking each council member in the eye. But she has family searching for her. To keep her against her will would bring the soldiers down upon us all. Tall Wolf stood. Then, what do you propose, Chief? I will offer her a choice, White Bear said. To stay of her own free will or to return to her people. Murmurs rippled through the council. A white woman choosing to live among the Comanche? It was unheard of. And if she chooses to leave? An elder asked. Then we return her with dignity and forge a peace with her brother, White Bear answered. Better to make an ally than an enemy. Meanwhile, in White Bear's lodge, Sarah was helping the twins prepare their morning meal. The girls worked quietly, the weight of the previous night's revelation heavy between them. Will you leave us today? Morningstar finally asked, her voice small. Sarah set down the wooden bowl she was holding. I don't know what your father has decided, but what do you want? Evening Sky pressed, her dark eyes serious beyond her years. Sarah knelt before them. In the white world, I was a widow with nothing. Here, I have purpose. She touched each girl's cheek gently. But I also have a brother who mourns me. Could he not come here? Morningstar suggested hopefully. Sarah smiled sadly. Our worlds don't mix easily, little one. The lodge flap opened, and White Bear entered. He looked at the three of them huddled together, and something softened in his stern countenance. The soldiers return at midday, he announced. I have spoken with the council. He turned to Sarah. You have brought healing to my family when our own medicine could not. For this you have earned the right to choose your path. Sarah stared at him in surprise. You would let me stay? Willingly? If that is your choice, White Bear confirmed. But know this. If you stay as Comanche. Not as prisoner, not as servant, but as one of us. You would take the place that has been empty since Singing Bird walked on to the next world. The twins gasped. Sarah's eyes widened as she understood what he was offering. Not just a place in the tribe, but in his family. And if I choose to go, she asked quietly, then we will return you to your brother with gifts of goodwill. There would be no shame in this choice. Sarah looked at the twins, whose eyes were filled with both hope and fear. Then back to White Bear, whose proud face now showed a vulnerability she'd never seen before. I need time to think, she said finally. White Bear nodded. Until midday. Sarah walked alone to the small stream that ran near the camp, her thoughts in turmoil. She knelt and let the cool water run through her fingers. remembering a similar stream near her childhood home. Daniel had taught her to skip stones there, her only family left. "Are you leaving?" a small voice asked. Sarah turned to find Evening Sky standing behind her, clutching a small deerskin pouch. "I thought you were with your sister," Sarah said gently. "Morning Star is helping Father prepare gifts for the soldiers." The girl approached cautiously. "I made this for you." She held out the pouch. Sarah accepted it and carefully opened the drawstring. Inside was a bracelet of carefully strung beads in a pattern of blue and white, the colors of Sarah's eyes and the sky. "It's beautiful," Sarah whispered, her throat tight with emotion. "Blue for your eyes that see truth, white for the clouds that brought you to us," Evening Sky explained solemnly. "Father says if you go, we must accept it with brave hearts." "But," her small face crumpled slightly, "I don't feel brave about this." Sarah pulled the child into her arms. "Oh, sweet one, bravery isn't about not feeling scared. It's about facing what scares you." Evening Sky clung to her. "When Mother died, everything went dark. Then you came and the light returned." She pulled back to look into Sarah's face. Father smiles again when he thinks no one is watching. Sarah felt her heart twist. She had noticed the change in White Bear, how his stern demeanor had gradually softened, how his gaze sometimes lingered on her when she worked or sang to the twins. She had told herself it was merely gratitude for helping his daughters. "Your father is a proud man," Sarah said carefully. Evening Sky nodded. "He would never ask you to stay. That is why I must." The honesty of the child struck Sarah deeply. In her previous life, she had been defined by her roles: daughter, wife, midwife. Here, among people who should have been strangers, she had found something unexpected: freedom to be herself, valued for her skills and spirit. As midday approached, the camp prepared for the soldiers' return. Sarah had changed from her tattered dress into clothing the Comanche women had made for her, a soft deerskin dress adorned with beadwork, her blonde hair braided with strips of red cloth. The twins watched anxiously as she fastened Evening Sky's bracelet around her wrist. Sarah knelt before them. "No matter what happens today," she said softly, "know that you have brought as much healing to my heart as I have to yours." Morning Star touched the bracelet. "You're wearing it." "Of course," Sarah smiled. "It was made with love." White Bear appeared at the lodge entrance. "It is time," the soldiers approach. At the edge of camp, Lieutenant Davis and his men waited, tension evident in their rigid postures. White Bear led Sarah forward, the twins following close behind. The lieutenant's eyes widened at Sarah's appearance. "Mrs. Mitchell?" he asked uncertainly. Sarah stepped forward. "Yes, Lieutenant, I am Sarah Mitchell." Relief washed over the young officer's face. "Thank God. Your brother has been frantic with worry. Are you well? Have these savages harmed you?" Sarah stiffened at his words. "I have been treated with respect and care, Lieutenant. These people saved me after bandits attacked our wagon and killed my husband." The lieutenant looked skeptical. "Nevertheless, we've come to return you to civilization. Your brother awaits in Tucson." Sarah felt the twins move closer to her sides, their small hands clutching at her dress. She looked down at them, then at White Bear, whose face had returned to its stoic mask, though his eyes held a question. "Lieutenant," Sarah said, her voice gaining strength, "please convey my gratitude to my brother for searching for me. Tell him I am alive and well." "Of course, ma'am. We can reach town by nightfall if we leave now." Sarah took a deep breath. "Tell him also that I have found a new purpose here. I will not be returning with you." Stunned silence followed her declaration. The lieutenant's mouth opened and closed wordlessly. "Mrs. Mitchell, perhaps you don't understand. These people, these people," Sarah interrupted firmly, "have become my family. I am needed here as a healer. My decision is made." The twins' grips on her dress tightened. White Bear's expression remained unchanged, but something flickered in his dark eyes. "This is madness," the lieutenant sputtered. "No white woman would choose to live among savages." Sarah straightened her spine. "I have made my choice, Lieutenant. Please respect it." White Bear stepped forward. "To show our good faith, we offer these gifts for Sarah's brother." He motioned, and two warriors brought forward beautifully tanned hides, beaded moccasins, and dried meat for the journey. The lieutenant looked from the gifts to Sarah's resolute face. "Your brother won't accept this. He'll demand we return with a rescue party. Then give him this." Sarah removed a small locket from around her neck, the only possession she had kept from her previous life. Inside was a tiny portrait of her as a young woman. "Tell him I am happy, and that if he wishes to see me, he is welcome to come in peace." The lieutenant reluctantly accepted the locket and gifts. "I still think you're making a grave mistake, ma'am." "Perhaps," Sarah acknowledged, "but it is my mistake to make." As the soldiers rode away, the twins could no longer contain themselves. They threw their arms around Sarah's waist, faces bright with joy. The women of the tribe approached, some wary, others welcoming, but all curious about this white woman who had chosen their way. White Bear stood apart, watching, until Sarah approached him. "You have chosen a difficult path," he said quietly. "The worthwhile paths usually are," she replied. For the first time, she saw him smile fully, a transformation that lightened his entire face. "Come," he said, extending his hand. "It is time to introduce Sarah Mitchell of the Comanche to her people." 2 years passed like the changing of seasons, sometimes harsh, sometimes gentle, but always bringing growth and transformation. The Comanche camp had moved 3 times, following game and favorable weather, settling now near a wooded area with a clear running stream that reminded Sarah of her childhood home. Sarah had become known among the Comanche as Healing Hands, a name earned through countless hours tending to the sick and injured. Her knowledge of herbs combined with the traditional medicine of the tribe created remedies more effective than either tradition alone. The initial wariness of the tribe had given way to respect, and in many cases, genuine affection. The twins, now 9 summers old, had blossomed under Sarah's care. Morning Star had revealed a gift for languages, eagerly learning English from Sarah while helping her perfect her Comanche. Evening Sky showed natural skill as a healer, following Sarah everywhere as she gathered plants and prepared medicines. One crisp autumn morning, as Sarah taught Evening Sky how to make a poultice for burns, a commotion at the edge of camp caught their attention. A single rider approached, not a soldier but a civilian man on a dappled gray horse. "Someone comes," Evening Sky said, shading her eyes against the sun. Sarah stood, brushing dirt from her deerskin dress. Something about the rider's posture struck her as familiar. As he drew closer, her heart began to pound. "Daniel?" she whispered. White Bear emerged from his lodge, bow in hand, though not drawn. Over the past 2 years, his relationship with Sarah had evolved from cautious alliance to deep respect to something more tender, though both approached this new territory carefully, mindful of the twins' feelings and tribal expectations. "You know this man?" White Bear asked Sarah as she approached. "I think it's my brother," she replied, her voice a mix of emotion. The rider came to a halt at the camp's edge, raising his hand in greeting. It was indeed Daniel Mitchell, older than Sarah remembered, his face weathered by sun and worry. "I come in peace," he called. "I seek my sister, Sarah Mitchell." White Bear glanced at Sarah, who nodded. "Approach," the chief commanded. Daniel dismounted, his movements betraying his nervousness. His eyes scanned the gathered Comanche until they found Sarah. For a moment, he simply stared, taking in her native dress, her sun-darkened skin, her hair in Comanche braids. "Sarah?" he finally managed. "Is it really you?" Sarah stepped forward. "Hello, Daniel." He moved as if to embrace her, then hesitated, noting the formality of the setting. 2 years, he said instead. 2 years I've been searching, following rumors, questioning traitors. "Lieutenant Davis didn't deliver my message?" Sarah asked. Daniel's expression hardened. "He told me you'd been bewitched or addled by captivity. I couldn't believe my sister would choose." He gestured at the camp. "A different life?" Sarah finished. "I made my choice freely, Daniel." White Bear stepped forward. "I am White Bear, chief of this band. Sarah Healing Hands is honored among our people." Daniel looked between them, noticing their proximity, the way they stood as equals. His eyes widened slightly. "The lieutenant didn't mention that part," he muttered. The twins appeared at Sarah's side, regarding the newcomer with curious eyes. Sarah placed a hand on each girl's shoulder. "Daniel, these are my daughters now, Morning Star and Evening Sky." "Your daughters?" Daniel echoed, shock evident in his voice. "In my heart, yes," Sarah confirmed. "Their mother passed before I came. Understanding dawned on Daniel's face as he looked from the twins to White Bear and back to Sarah. "You've made a new family." "Yes," Sarah said simply, "but that doesn't mean I forgot my old one." White Bear spoke to the gathered tribe. "This is Sarah's brother. He is welcome as our guest." He turned to Daniel. "Will you share our fire and food?" Daniel hesitated only briefly. "I would be honored." That evening, around the central fire, Daniel watched his sister move comfortably among the Comanche, speaking their language, laughing with the women, directing the twins with gentle authority. She was different from the quiet, grieving widow who had left Springfield, stronger, more confident, at peace with herself. "She has changed," Daniel observed to White Bear, who sat beside him. "As have we all," the chief replied. "When Sarah first came, my daughters could not sleep. Their mother's death had left wounds no medicine could heal." He watched as Sarah helped Evening Sky serve stew to the elders. "Now they sleep in peace and wake with joy." "And you?" Daniel asked boldly. "What has my sister brought to you?" White Bear's gaze remained on Sarah. "Hope," he said simply. "When the winter of grief seems endless, hope is the first green shoot of spring." Later, as the camp settled for the night, Sarah and Daniel sat together outside White Bear's lodge, the stars brilliant overhead. The twins had reluctantly gone to bed after extracting a promise from Daniel to tell them stories of Sarah's childhood in the morning. "I came to rescue you," Daniel admitted. "I had a horse waiting for you. Plans to flee in the night." Sarah smiled. "Always my protective big brother." "But you don't need rescuing," he continued. "I see that now. You found something here that was missing in our world." "Not missing," Sarah corrected gently. "Just different. There, I was defined by what I had lost: parents, husband, home. Here, I'm defined by what I can give: healing, knowledge, love." Daniel nodded slowly. "Mother would be proud of you. Following your heart was always her way too." Sarah took her brother's hand. "Will you tell the family I'm well? Truly well?" "I will," he promised. "But Sarah, the territories are changing. The army pushes further west each year. This life you've found may not last forever," she finished. "I know. We all do. White Bear leads our people away from conflict when possible, but we can't outrun the future. What will you do when that day comes?" Sarah looked toward the lodge where White Bear and the twins slept. "We will face it together, as a family." Daniel studied his sister's face in the firelight. "You love him." It wasn't a question, but Sarah answered anyway. "Yes, it grew slowly, from respect to friendship to something deeper. He is a good man, Daniel. Different from what we were taught to expect, but good in ways that matter." "And the tribe accepts this?" "Some more readily than others, but they have seen that our strengths together serve the people well." Daniel sighed. "I won't pretend to fully understand, but I respect your choice." He reached into his coat and withdrew a small package wrapped in cloth. "I brought this thinking you might need reminding of home. Now I see it's simply a gift." Sarah unwrapped the parcel to find their mother's small silver hand mirror. Tears filled her eyes as she looked at her reflection, a face both familiar and transformed. "Thank you," she whispered. The next morning, as Daniel prepared to depart, the entire tribe gathered to bid him farewell. White Bear presented him with gifts: a finely crafted knife, a painted buffalo robe, and a medicine pouch. "For safe travels," the chief explained, "and to remember that you have family among the Comanche now." Daniel accepted the gifts with genuine gratitude. "I came seeking one sister and found an entire family." He turned to Sarah. "I'll return in the spring if I'm welcome." "Always," she assured him, embracing her brother tightly. As Daniel rode away, the twins waved enthusiastically, calling out farewells in English they had practiced all morning. Sarah felt White Bear's presence beside her, his hand finding hers. "He is a good man, your brother," White Bear observed. "Yes," Sarah agreed. Like his sister, he needed to see with his own eyes to understand. White Bear smiled, the expression now coming more naturally to him. "The season turns. Winter approaches. There is much to prepare." "And much to celebrate," Sarah added. "The harvest was good, the hunt successful. The people are healthy." They walked together back to the center of camp, the twins running ahead, their laughter carrying on the crisp autumn air. Around them, the tribe went about their daily tasks. Women scraping hides, men repairing weapons, elders teaching children the ancient stories. That evening, as the first stars appeared, White Bear called the tribe together. Standing before the council fire with Sarah and the twins at his side, he spoke of the changing world beyond their territory, of the challenges that would come, of the strength they would need. We have survived by adapting, by taking what is useful from the world around us while holding to our ways, he declared. Sarah Healing Hands came to us as a stranger, became family, and has shown us that wisdom can be found in unexpected places. He turned to Sarah, taking her hands in his. Before all our people, I ask you to join your path with mine, not as the white woman who stays with the Comanche, but as my wife, mother to our daughters, keeper of our lodge. A murmur ran through the gathered tribe, not of disapproval, but of acknowledgement that what had been unspoken was now declared openly. Sarah looked at White Bear, at the twins whose faces shone with joy, at the community that had become her own. I accept, she said clearly, with a full heart and open eyes. That night, as the celebration continued around them, Sarah sat with Morning Star and Evening Sky, watching the dancers circle the fire. Are you happy, Mother? Morning Star asked, using the title she had only whispered before. Sarah gathered both girls close. Happier than I ever thought possible. Evening Sky touched the beaded bracelet that Sarah still wore. The clouds that brought you to us were kind clouds. The kindest, Sarah agreed, looking up at the star-filled sky. Even in the darkest storm, there is always the promise of light. As the drums beat a rhythm as old as the land itself, Sarah Mitchell, once lost, now found, watched her Comanche family celebrate life's continuing journey, secure in the knowledge that whatever changes the future might bring, they would face them together, with healing hands and brave hearts.